There are mistakes you are making that are costing you growth in your business. They are costing you revenue and costing you opportunities that keep you from growing your PI business in the most effective way. And if you were to make just a few minor changes in handling these challenges, you could significantly improve how your private investigations business operates and succeeds as a whole. So let's talk about some of these mistakes and how you can work to improve your PI business right now. The first mistake to talk about is the lack of research you put into an investigation. I often see new and, well, to be honest, veteran PIs make this mistake. Private investigators often rush through the initial phases of their investigative research. They get the case in, quickly review what the client sent them, and then hurry up and do some quick research. This is usually because most of us are very busy and excited about getting a new case in. In fact, I know I have made this mistake myself when I get that new case in and start that early process knowing that I will probably not be able to work on that case for several days or maybe even weeks due to my current caseload. Then when I do actually start that case, I think I did all of that preliminary work already. I have some notes and there is no need to do it again. Which leads us to moving on to the planning stage without having the full picture of what is involved because we didn't do enough research and review up front. The fix for this is simple, but it is often hard to implement too, as it requires a change in mindset and routines. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. You need to make a policy and procedural change in your business that requires you to schedule future time for all new cases to do that initial review and research. This will require you to have a calendar of future work so you can quickly reference that calendar and put that initial part of the new case into an appropriate time slot to get the work done. I use my calendar to schedule everything except the very minimal things. And for those minimal things that will take less than, let's say, a minute or two to accomplish, I just take care of them the moment they come up. I know many times the client will say something like, please review and let us know if you need anything else. And your simple answer to this should be something like this. Absolutely, we have it on the schedule to review and we will get back to you as soon as possible. This leads us to the next mistake PIs often make, poor communication. I see this come up so many times in this profession. We get so busy in our lives, daily activities, and work schedules that we put the communication piece on the back burner, save it for the end of the day, and then, many times, it never gets done. You must prioritize your communications to your clients as well to your peers and your employees. Inadequate communications with clients and team members is a significant reason for misunderstandings in a lot of cases. You must ensure you give your clients regular and timely updates throughout the investigation, and this goes for other investigators who are part of your team as well. The way I do this is straightforward. Going back to my calendar, I schedule the times for each day when I check and respond to emails. That is right, I check my email first every day at the office. I also have it scheduled at 10 a.m., noon, 2 p.m., and the end of the day. I then do one of several things with those emails. In my email, I have folders for several things. One is my case folder. Inside that, I make a folder for every new case I get. It is usually named client name, subject name. When a client or others email me, I quickly respond to them and drag that email into the appropriate folder so I have a record of it. I may even drag my reply into that folder if I will need to reference that information later too. When the case is done, I have another folder named Closed Cases where I store all of my closed cases so I have a good record of everything. If the email takes more than a quick minute to reply to, then I mark that email as unread and I go into my calendar and schedule time to do whatever work needs to be done to answer that email. This is usually right before my next scheduled email session so that I can address the email at that time. If it will take longer than that before I can reply fully, I do a quick reply to the client saying something like, thank you for reaching out. We need to do a little research and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Next on our list is the over-reliance of technology. I know there are a lot of great tools out there to help private investigators, but when you rely too heavily on this technology, it can also be a great detriment to your PI business. Often, the overuse of technology can lead to missed details or incomplete investigations. Here is a real example. I often see PIs doing a background on someone or even during their initial research and they run a report on one of their super secret PI databases. And they may even run searches on multiple databases, which is good practice for any PI as the information will vary from one database to another. Then they assume it is all correct and all inclusive, but in most cases this is far from the truth. All of this data should be verified, cross-referenced, and validated through other sources. I just had a case where multiple databases showed over 20 businesses related to our subject. But in reality, almost all of them were related to the subject's father, who had the same name. In fact, only one of those businesses was owned by our subject himself. In another case, none of our databases showed any court records or criminal history on our subject. Doing our regular criminal checks, though, through the county and the state, we found that he had multiple run-ins with the law, and he also had many court records related to money matters, bankruptcies, civil lawsuits, and more. Had I relied solely on the information the report showed me, I would have given the client inaccurate information, which would have been very detrimental to their case. In fact, I was hired by this client because they hired another PI to do the work, and he came up with nothing, but the client knew there was something to be found. Make sure you balance the use of any of these modern tools with traditional investigative techniques to ensure comprehensive results. On the flip side of over-reliance on technology is failing to adapt to new technologies. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need to jump on every single new gadget, camera, software package, or app out there. But you should be aware of what is out there as well as what it can do for your company and carefully evaluate new technologies when they do come out. A good example of this is surveillance cameras. I know several PIs out there who have been doing surveillance for many years, decades even. These are the guys who taught me a thing or two when I got started, but now they are still using some older technology when it comes to cameras. I know some who do not even own a covert camera. They still take their regular camera with them on foot surveillance or try to use their cell phones to gather covert video. And to top it off, I know some who are still using old DAT tape video cameras. That is right, those old cameras that take DAT tapes to record on. I have hired some people like this in the past, but then when I get the video, it is low quality. It's in that old 4:3 format, not in the widescreen, and many times that video has ghosting in it from video that never got fully overwritten. This is a hard sell to my clients when I send them the video and it is subpar. Don't get me wrong. Surveillance video does not need to be 4K quality. In fact, I prefer 1080p over 4K for many reasons. But I am not able to hire these guys much because of their lack in newer technology. I do like to have them there to help in tough cases as they have far superior skills in things like following, staying covert in other areas, but the lack of quality video costs them a lot of money in lost jobs. And those DAT tapes are nearly impossible to buy now, and if you do find them, the cost is so high it often exceeds the cost of a new digital camera. Make sure you stay informed about emerging tools, technologies, and techniques in the PI industry, and try to stay ahead in the PI field with what makes the most sense at the time. New technology should improve the quality of your work product for your client without overburdening costs to you or causing problems in other areas. 4K video is one of those that I just can't jump on the bandwagon yet. The file size is so overwhelmingly larger than 1080p, it becomes very difficult to upload those larger files, and the clients often have difficulty downloading that large of a file. And I highly doubt clients are sitting and watching surveillance video on 4K monitors or televisions, so that video just gets dumbed down to 1080p anyway in the playback. Not to mention, I have yet to have a client ask me to produce video in 4K. There you go, folks. Plan ahead, schedule your work, keep your eyes on technology, and make sure you stay safe out there.